So for the second learning objective, we are going to be creating charts. We're going to create a bar chart, a line chart, and a pie chart. So the same way that I have done in other modules on data presentation, I'm going to create these charts from a data set which I have created for the purpose of this learning objective. So the data set that I'm going to use today is going to be the leap test performance. And the research question for this data set is: in the last 5 years, how has parental satisfaction with the IEP program affected leap test performance in children with ADHD? So the first thing to do here is to figure out what the relevant variables are. So the first relevant variable would be parental satisfaction. It is in the name. This is a variable that is in the name, so it's quite easy to pull out. And the values that we'll use for this variable will be categorical, and we have satisfactory, values, unsatisfactory, and my child does not have an IEP. Now, the reason this fourth value is here is because there may be children who do not have IEP. So you don't want to include those parents in the analysis without having to acknowledge the fact that they're a little bit different from other parents. A second variable would be ADHD symptoms. Now, the reason this is a relevant variable is because the severity of ADHD symptoms does affect children's educational performance. So that's why it is a relevant variable in this case. And the values for this variable will also be categorical, and we have severe, moderate, and mild. So the third variable would be leap test years. And the reason why this is a relevant variable is because, remember, this is the research question that asks in the last 5 years. So we are going to want to capture information that presents, that tells us something of what is happening in the leap scores in the last 5 years. So since you can start from 2022, we're going to be starting from 2022 for this data set, and going back going back 5 years, that would give us leap score for 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 22. So we have our 5 years leap performance. So, and these variables will be measured by a leap score of 0 to 100, making it such that there will be numerical values for these variables. So in order to answer these research questions, there will be a need to have sub questions. Sub questions help break down this research question, this very broad research question, to a more manageable chunks. So the sub questions we're going to use here is: compare the proportion of parental satisfaction with the IEP program, compare parental satisfaction with the IEP program to the LEAP scores of the last 5 years. And then lastly, compare ADHD symptoms to the LEAP score of the last 5 years. So for the first sub question, we're going to use a pie chart to answer it. And the second, we're going to use a line chart to answer it. And then the third, we're going to use a bar chart to answer it. Now, for the second and the third question, you can actually use both a line chart and a bar chart for it. But for this exercise, we are going to just use one or the other so that we're not kind of spreading ourselves too thin. So now that we've established that, let's go into the data set itself. So from the data set, we will now be able to create the charts that we need. So let's get to the data sets right now. So just a minute, let me share the screen for that. Okay, so this is the data set that we are using. So there's 25 participants or 24 participants that I created. for these data sets. And then we have a couple of demographic information here that I added. It's not we're not going to use it for this exercise, but those are information that could be used in other times. So these are some demographic variables that I added. But then you have the parental satisfaction, ADHD symptoms, and then you have the variables for the 5 leap year tests. So we have to start. So the first sub question says, compare the proportion of parental satisfaction with the IEP program. So let's start with that. For this exercise, what I'm going to do is to create the charts in a different sheet. The reason I'm going to do that is, let me show you something. Let me try to create a data sheet without having, sorry, a chart without having to put it in a different data sheet. So first of all, this is how to create a chart. You go to insert, and then you click on chart, and then that creates it. So you can see this puts it into the sheet with our data set, makes it a little bit unsightly. So because of that, I'm going to put it in a completely different sheet of its own, so that this way we can create something that looks a lot neater. So to create another sheet, you add sheets. And so I'm going to use this. I'm going to rename it. So here I'm going to put the pie chart in here for the first sub question. I'm going to create another sheet for the line chart to answer the second sub question. And then for the third sub question, I'm going to put the bar chart to answer the third sub question. So that I have created all the sheets that I need for my charts. So now let us start. So the first sub question says, just a minute. The first sub question asks the question says, compare the proportion of parental satisfaction with the IEP program. So now to do that, we need to create a chart. Because I'm creating a chart in a different sheet from from where my data set is, I need to select my data set so that I have it all put neatly done. So now I've selected it. Let me go to the pie chart, because that's where I'm going to do. I will start with insert and charts. Now it's going to tell me no data. The reason it's telling me no data is because it's taking the information from here, A1, in this sheet, but that's not where our data is. So we have to instruct it to go to the place where the data is, which is, you click on this here, and this is the sheet with the information that we need, which is the first one. Okay, and so it creates that, but it's a pie chart we need, not everything. So we have to go, and when you click on this chart type, you have the option of changing to the charts that you want. So you click on pie chart. So you can see it's telling you that column information is, must be numerical. Let's change this to parental satisfaction, which is what we're looking for. And now to change this here, I want to get a proportion, but I can't select parental satisfaction, because this one only recognizes numeric values, and parental satisfaction is a categorical value. So I'm not going to be able to create this pie chart. So the only thing to do in that is to, hold on, let me take off all the remove. Okay, so it's not going to recognize it, because like I said, this is a categorical value, so it's not going to recognize it. So which then asks the question, so how then will I create a pie chart? Now the way to create this pie chart is going to be we go to the we go to back to the data sets and create a pivot table first. Now, the reason why we need to create a pivot table first is because the sub question, let's go back to the sub question once again and look at it. It says, compare the proportion of parental satisfaction with IEP program. This question, sub question, is only asking us for one information, just parental satisfaction, nothing else. So, which means that our pie charts will only have one variable in it, which we will not be able to create that. So the thing to do is to use a pivot table to create a table that has two variable information in it. And so that this way we'll be able to create the proportion. The proportion here means percentage. So we want to get the percentage of parental satisfaction that is unsatisfactory, satisfactory, neutral, or my child does not have an IEP. So that is what we want to do. So in order to do that, we have to create a pivot table. To create the pivot table, we'll go to insert. If you remember, this is how to create that. You go to pivot table and we click pivot table. We want it to be created in a new sheet and it goes here, rename it. I always say rename it first. So this is pivot table. This is for the pie chart. So this is the pivot table for the pie charts that we've now created. So how do I now create these two variables that is going to help create the pie chart with the percentage? The thing to do is you need to put the same information, parental satisfaction in the row and parental satisfaction in the value. Now, in order to give you two variables, we are going to have parental satisfaction here as a count in terms of how many parental satisfaction values says my child does not have a IEP, how many says neutral, how many says unsatisfactory, how many says satisfactory. So this is what this variable is. Now this variable here is just giving us the same information but as the categorical. So now we have two variables here. One, parental satisfaction in a categorical value, and parental satisfaction in a numerical value. So now we have two variables. Remember, we need these two in order to create a pie chart. So now let's create a pie chart. You're going to select, be careful not to select the grand total, because if you select the grand total, the instruction is going to be that you want information on what the proportion of grand total is, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. So when you're selecting your table, please do not include the grand total. So now we have the pivot table created, selected. Let's make a pie chart out of this pivot table. So let's go to where the pie chart is and create a pie chart. So insert charts and it will say no data. You go here and we need to create that. Oh, it doesn't seem to be seeing that. So I'll have to go back here and insert it from here. So insert charts, and so it sees that, and this is the TV. This is it. This is what this is. Let me close that. So this is what is showing. It's showing that 8.7% of the parents said IEP program was unsatisfactory. 39.1 said it was satisfactory. 21.7 says it was my child does not have an IEP, and 30.74 says this is neutral. So in order to move this from here, I can just copy it and go into this place, and paste it. So we have our pie chart is here, and all the other, information, it's here as well. So we have that. This is our pie chart. So I'm going to end this video here and then do a separate video in order to create the bar chart and the line chart. So I'll see you in a bit. Bye.